to my channel. I'm Liam. Round 16, SuperCoach. Not the best. 2,346. Round rank 16,000. It was just an average week. Moved out 200 spots. Halted my little momentum that I've had over the last couple of weeks. Just a whole lot of underperforming primos, or also fake primos. I was getting outscored by teams with 3-4 rookies on their field this week. There were a few massive scores. The Parishes took Miller, Darcy. I was lucky to bring in Dangerfield this week. So my training was pretty good. I couldn't do anything better with regards to this week. So that is a positive. But all in all, a few disappointing scores halted, and a poor captain choice halted. Decent week, yeah, 7 out of 8. That just sums up my week. A few decent scores around about. Starting with the backline, Stewart 107, very solid on the Friday night, along with Ridley 109. Ridley back to his role that he had early on in the season, more kick-outs, which is a bonus. That probably gives him an extra 15 points a game, and more intercept marks, which I like. Similar to Stewart, a lot of intercept marks as well, which helped him get to 107. Whitfield, pretty disappointing, 81. Couldn't back up last week's good score. As I said, he needs a lot of ball to get a ton. They just couldn't find it against Melbourne. Surprising win for them, but Whitfield just couldn't get into the game. Kicked a goal in the last quarter, which helped to score a bit, but just couldn't get going. Salem was very impressive in that game, 117. He's one of the best ball users in the comp. I think he was at 95% efficiency for most of that game. And loves to kick the ball, loves a cheap little kick in the back line, kicked a handy goal as well. Surprised he didn't score a little bit more. He only scored 15 in the last quarter. He was 100 at three-quarter time. But handy pod, and someone that's picked up a little bit of form after his injury a couple of weeks ago. Short was really disappointing, 65. Richmond looked terrible. The only hope is now Hooley is out, and hopefully Short can get back into it. He wasn't even taking kick-outs. With Voss taking them, just hope he can bounce back. He scored well the last few weeks, so maybe it was just an off game for him. Haynes, 87. He's been very consistent. Had 12 1%ers, I think, in that game, so couldn't get much of the ball, but his spoiling was pretty impressive in that game. He's made me 100k. It is very tempting for me now to offload him to a premium mid. It will be very tempting, and some of these premium mids are just going berserk, and they'll give me probably 60, 70 points bonus. And I'll probably look to get rid of Highmore, 297. I think he can go up a little bit more, but I feel like I don't need the 20k overly much. I feel like he goes this week. I've got a solid cover in Bianco, who I feel like will just play out the rest of the season. 58 is defender mid, DPP. I can move him around with Sharp. I'll see about Highmore, who I bring in. Either a loop in Fife, what's his name? Aiden Fife, or a midfielder, possibly Connolly if he gets a game. He's not probably the best scoring ability, but with St Kilda play alright. I think he might get a few more games. Into the midfield, Bontempelli was pretty disappointing, 83. All the hype for this game. He started like house on fire, 5 possessions in the first couple of minutes, but just turned the ball over a lot this game. Just couldn't get into it after that. 83 is really disappointing as a captain. 55 down on McRae, who, on the other hand, his disposal was insanely good. He went above 90 in the end. 138. He's just so consistent. I think he's gone 125. I think 60 in 2/3 of his games this year. Just amazing. Very consistent, and I think he'll be number one pick next year. Another one will be interesting if we pick him up next year is Rory Laird. He'll be a midfielder, but he is an absolute gun. 129. He's guaranteed top one defender. As I said before, probably might move him up this week to bring in a premium midfielder who can hopefully give me a few more points. But unfortunately, his score doesn't overly matter a lot as everyone at the top has him. Oliver, another disappointing one from a top mid. He looks juicy in a couple of weeks' time for people that don't have him. 599 now. He was at 700. 87, just not good enough. He was a little bit underscored, I feel, but his disposal efficiency was just terrible, just like Bontempelli. I just feel like I was like looking at champion data. You get a contested possession. If that handball doesn't go to a play, it's 0. If that handball player hits a target, it's 5 or 6 points every time. He just wasn't hitting his targets in those games. If those 8 to 10 handballs hit the target, that's an extra 40 to 50 points. And then we're laughing with 130. Cunnington, pretty solid 113. Again, I thought he was underscored. A lot of contested ball, kicked 2 goals, probably just in a losing side, and Bulldogs kicking a lot. Wasn't able to, and with Hall, Zeeble also taking points off him. Wasn't able to score heaps, and along with McRae taking points off him. But 113 you take any day of the week. They're at 107. I don't know how he was 70 below Parrish. But again, another person, just disposal efficiency was just absurd. I can talk about it with Taranto as well. It wasn't that bad, Taranto, with his disposal efficiency. I feel like he was also underscored as well. In that last quarter, he was one of the best GWS midfielders and just didn't get anything for it. But again, 105, solid. Crouch, very disappointing, 83 again. His first 6 disposals accumulated 8 points. Just summed up my round. He got to 83 in the end. Solid second half to get there. But just he didn't get on the field till like 7 minutes into the game. Couldn't really match his form. Not tackling as much as he was which actually was a way of I thought me bring him in, but what can you do? 100 points lost, not wasting a trade and getting Steele instead. But I feel like I'll utilise that 100k this week to bring in hopefully a gun midfielder and not jinx them. Newcombe, very solid cover now, 67. Hopefully he'll keep playing for the rest of the year. Very happy with how he's going. He won't be needed as any cash generation whatsoever. Grundy, Gorn, solid. Grundy was pretty impressive. A few clangers in that second quarter probably halted him getting to that 140. But very impressive. Gorn just wasn't getting his hit-outs to advantage, scored. Melbourne weren't overly best in that game. And Mumford, as I said, tends to restrict the scoring of ruck his opposing ruck. Disappointing if you VC'd him, but there were many. I didn't get any VC right, but a few of you would have done with Parrish and Took and all. And possibly Dangerfield. Bring him in this week. Perfect timing at 495, 184. he's paid me back for what he did in the first couple of weeks of the season, while I held him for 3 weeks and then got injured in the week after, and that was a forced trade. So he's made up for that. I knew he would be a good pick at the start of the year. Unfortunately, injuries stuffed that up, but he got 184. Everyone will be chasing him this week if they didn't pick him up, and he's going to be possibly top forward at the end of the season. With Zorko, I feel like he's got he and Zorko will be top 2 forwards at the end. Zeeble, Hall will be probably 3 and 4. Just rack it up in that back line. Just cheap kicks. The ball was down there a lot more. With the Bulldogs dominating a little bit more than what Gold Coast did last week. But they love the ball. But North love the ball in both their hands. And you take 120 any day of the week. Fortunately, these 3 forwards were very disappointing. Martin, 86. Everyone has him, so his score doesn't overly matter. But Bolton and Danaher, probably pods. I don't know, Danaher might not be traded by a few people, but certainly Bolton, 59, been disappointing the last few weeks. It was him or Zorko back in like round 9, and guess who I picked? With Richmond down, he doesn't look to have the scoring potential as when they're up and going. Hopefully he can rebound in the next few weeks, otherwise it'll be a struggle home with him. Danaher, with Impey out, I had to hold him. I'll be tempted to. I'll probably loop him with Waitman over the next few weeks if Briggs doesn't get named. And Waitman should have done this last week, but he was playing North last week. Handy little cash boost that I can utilise, but won't need to be utilised, I don't think. With my plans of going Haynes to a premium mid, I could hold that move and go Waitman or Highmore up to a F7, D7 to loop. But I'll weigh that up during the week. But I need to get aggressive, I feel. Sitting 7,500, I could just ease my way to 5,000 by continuing what I'm doing, or take a risk to possibly get to 2,000. But maybe catastrophically might go up to 10 grand. 10 grand isn't much difference in the scheme of things. But not the season it is. 32nd last year. Can't do that every year. First year of YouTube. Stuffs me up. But thanks for watching. Thanks for 100 subs. Pretty stoked with that. Hopefully I can get to 200. Probably not by the end of this season, but by next year. And I'll be back on Tuesday with my trade talk. Not many trades left for most of you, but hopefully I can give some quick insights and maybe a few pods that might help you differentiate you from the rest of everyone for the rest of the season. So till then, have a good one.